An SMMA course is what changed my life. Spent $600 on a course that turned into like $8 million in revenue. I built an agency. We got it up to $20K a month when I was 17. We have to sacrifice the pennies to really get the dollars. And I think you have to recognize SMMA for most people is chasing pennies. Then we scaled that agency from $15K a month to $150K a month in 90 days. The model to get to $400, $500K a year is...
Sweet. Matt, what's up, man?
What's up, bro?
This is so fun.
Yeah.
So you just got back from Europe and Dubai.
Yep.
You were filming part of Agency Accelerator.
Yeah, we were filming the new course for Iman, yeah.
Okay. And you're not making a dime off that.
No.
But he
No.
paid for your flights.
He did cover the flight.
Okay.
He did cover the flights. And he covered the flights to South Africa too, which were like, it's my first time flying first class.
Okay.
I've never flown first class. But when somebody else offers to fly you first class, you're like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's like the big like box suites that like the seats go back and you can like sleep in them at night, and
Yeah.
they bring you wine and stuff. And I was like, bro, this is sick. But I'm back to my coach ways now.
All right.
Yeah, man, but just got back. It was super fun, and yeah, had a blast.
That's great. How'd you like Dubai?
I did not like Dubai. I got sick though, so
Hot take from Matt here. Didn't like Dubai.
did not like Dubai at all. Then again, I'm not a city boy. You know, like I love living on the golf course or by the beach. Like I like being away from the noise. And I actually think I think there's confusion amongst a lot of entrepreneurs that they need to be in these hot spots, that they need to be in Miami, they need to be in Dubai, they need to be in these big cities. I really disagree, because you actually don't want to be a part of the collective consciousness if you want to build something great. You actually want to be separated from it. I think it was Thomas Edison or Nikola Tesla, one of those guys, who said, solitude is the genesis of great invention. So I'm a big fan of being in solitude, being separated from those places, and then just doing my strike missions once or twice a year. Where, you know, we go, we meet people, we do what we have to do, and we leave.
Yeah.
And we go back to our solitude, and we spend time with ourselves, and we figure out, and we think, what's going on? What do we want to do? How do we get to the next level? And we separate from all of the collective confusion of money, 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 growth, 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 but they don't even know why they're doing it. That's the fascinating thing. It's like, oh, we have Lambos, we have watches, we have nice cars and nice clothes and all this status, but we don't even know why we're doing this in the first place.
Yeah.
Anytime I see that, I wanna run the other way. So I saw a little bit of that in Dubai for sure.
Some like posturing.
Posturing, yeah. Which, you know, we're all guilty of. I am too.
Yeah.
But I want to separate from it if I can. So Dubai, I definitely felt a little bit of that. And dude, everything there is man-made. Like you walk into the ocean and the ocean's like warm. It's like a bath.
Yeah.
You're like, what the heck is this?
The nature's not even nature.
That's not even nature. It's man-made. That's scary to me. So
yeah, I feel like the solitude thing, but also the community, like maybe people gravitate towards those big cities because they think they're going to find community.
Yeah.
But like what you built living here with just a few guys that you trust and like are on the same path.
Yeah.
That can be equally as powerful or much more powerful than a big city.
Right. I agree, because a lot of times networking can actually do more distracting than it does driving of growth.
Yeah.
Because unless you're really leveraging the people around you in the right way, you're not going to get anything out of them. Like if you have these genius minds around you, but you're going out to the club every week, you're not actually getting the benefit of being around them.
Yeah.
You're just distracting them and you from the gifts that you both have. So it's not just about the people, it's about the environment that the people are in.
Yeah.
You need both if you really want to make the networking successful. So yeah, our plan has been, hey, let's go out to the suburbs of Charlotte where there's no noise. It's so quiet here. Let's get a few killers who all want to do the same thing. We're all on the same mission or similar missions. And then let's just make each other better.
Yeah.
And let's lean on each other, and let's build a real strong, tight-knit community. And so that's been the approach.
Love it.
Been okay so far.
So why do the Iman course if you're not getting paid?
It's a good question. He did offer to pay. I do want to say, he was, you know, he offered a nice chunk of money, and I declined.
To pay or to be an affiliate?
To both.
Okay.
He offered both. He offered to make me an affiliate, but then he also offered me cash. I hope it's cool if I talk about that. Sorry, Iman, not. But I declined because to some extent, it's like the nostalgia of it. Like I grew up watching Iman. I grew up watching him crush it. I grew up watching him build SMMAs and build a coaching program and like take over the industry.
Yeah.
And I've seen him transcend, make money online and become this like celebrity. Like when he was in Spain or wherever that Monaco, wherever that is, I don't even know where that is, but wherever that F1 like race thing they were doing is,
Okay.
he had like 150 people show up at his hotel, like trying to get pictures with him and trying to like figure out where he was. Like that's like some Justin Bieber stuff, you know?
That's when Messi came to Charlotte.
Yeah.
Like he had a time. He had more than 150.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
It's crazy. And
he's
so
kind of reaching that level.
he's getting there, you know? He's getting there. And because of that, I feel like just out of the nostalgia and the respect for what he's built, and I know, like I've had my criticisms of all gurus and course sellers, just like people have their criticisms of me. But overall, it's really easy to judge, and that's what I've found. It's like it's really easy to judge Iman. Everybody wants to go after the top dog, but all things considered, like he's spread a pretty positive message.
Yeah,
He's got good character and values, from what I can tell. Like there's worse gurus to be following, and so just out of the respect for who he is and what he's done, I was like, man, I should do this just to do it.
Nice.
Like an SMMA course is what changed my life. It changed everything for me. I spent $600 on a course and it turned into like $8 million in revenue from one course. And so if I can be a part of that next course for somebody else to where they say, dude, I watched your course and it changed my life. Like, what more can you ask for?
Yeah.
And all things considered, I'll probably get a lot of brand value from, you know, being associated. So there is a logical justification to it.
Nice.
But that was the thought process.
What are you teaching in it?
So we did the entire 7-figure agency course. Like it's their separate course, I guess. So I brought in Josh, one of my business partners. He's teaching sales and sales teams. And then I brought in John Lee, who's like the operations queen. She's teaching ops. And then I taught CS, mindset, paid ads for B2B. So we just covered everything, dude.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like 20 hours of content.
Wow.
Yeah. So fun.
And is it like his teams that are just like filming everything and you just have to like sit down and talk, or how much
Basically.
how much prep did you do for each video?
So we learned this in South Africa for the first course. We scripted out everything. So the sales course that Josh did, Josh led the sales course. It was 110 pages of notes.
Wow.
And we put it all on a teleprompter. And that's the secret for content, by the way. Like biggest content hack is just get a teleprompter, write your script, play with, like, you have the remote for the teleprompter. You can make it go faster or slower. You can pause it. Makes content super easy. So we just wrote it all down, put it on the teleprompter, and then you can like one take it.
Is that what you do for YouTube videos too?
I actually don't. I've only done that for one YouTube video.
Yeah.
Usually I try to go off the dome.
Because I tried the teleprompter and I felt like a robot. Like I was like not breaking eye contact with the camera. Like I'm not blinking.
Yeah.
Do you feel like have you seen the course videos yet?
I haven't, but I feel confident that they came out well, because we got the practice in the first course.
Was the first course different? So the 7-figure agency was what you filmed in Spain.
Yes.
And the Cape Town one was Agency Accelerator.
Yeah, the Cape Town one was the sales training specifically, how to become like a really good salesperson, basically.
Got it.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know you, how did you obviously the whole story's on your channel, everybody can go watch it, but give us a cliff notes of like how you got into your first agency, how you ended up partnering with Jared, and what happened with Estate AI and all the other agencies that you've grown up to this point.
Yeah, so the cliff notes, I left school after 9th grade. I left public high school. I started online school, which is a big scam. Like, you think courses are a scam, right? Nah. I'll go to online high school. Try that. I finished my senior year. This is a crazy story. I finished my senior year in 3 days. So I hopped on, and actually like a month before I started my senior year, I bought my SMMA course, Billy Wilson. Yeah. Shout out to Billy. Everybody thinks like I'm an affiliate. Anytime I bring it up, I'm like, bro, the course is 6 years old. Like, I'm not.
I am an affiliate, and I still get money from his course. Yeah,
that's savage. I've lost so much money in not taking affiliate deals. It's crazy, bro. Anyway,
That's the difference between you. Yeah, I'm fine selling out.
it's fair, bro. It's fair. I actually have some thoughts on that, but we'll loop back to it. So I buy this course for $597, and I start going through it. I'm like a month in, and my parents are like, "How's school going?" And they're like, "How are you doing?" Like, they weren't even checking in on me because I was doing online. At that point, I don't want to say I was a lost cause, but they were kind of just like, "All right, well, good luck to this kid." They're like, one day my mom's just like, how's school going for you? I was like, "Oh, I haven't started yet." And they're like, "It's like October, you need to start school." And I was like, "Well, I'm doing SMMA, blah, blah, blah." And they're like, "No, like, you need to finish school." So then I committed to finishing school as fast as humanly possible, but despite whatever my grades were, so I could go back to the agency.
Smart.
And it turned out that basically I finessed my entire senior year, and I finished in 7 hours of work. Did 2 hours a day for 3 days, and then I was done. And after that, I completed my school. I got my degree. And and then I got back into my SMMA course, and I just started hustling, and I built an agency. We got it up to $20K a month when I was 17. Got kicked out of that agency by a just bad partnership on my end. I didn't sign anything. I didn't put it in writing, and so it came back to bite me. Learned a valuable lesson. Started another agency, scaled it to $20K a month, but this time in a month and a half. And
what were the niches?
Gyms. Both of those were gyms. And then COVID happened, shut down. I helped my friend build a Cairo agency to $8K a month in like a month and a half. COVID happened, shut down. Then I built a white label agency and a agency franchise. Like, we'll build your agency for you, which, terrible idea. But we scaled that to like 40K in 3 days. We scaled the white label to like 35K a month. Then we started Estate AI, which actually started as one of the white label agencies. And we saw this agency that was just getting new clients every single month, and his clients weren't leaving. We're like, man, this guy doesn't even really know what he's doing, but he's getting new clients, he's scaling, he's growing. We're doing all the fulfillment. Maybe we should see if there's something here in this real estate niche. So we ended up partnering with him, ended up acquiring him later on. Then we scaled that agency from 15K a month to 150K a month in 90 days. It ended up getting to like 250K a month in the first year.
Hey guys, just jumping in here to give you a quick word on our sponsor, High Level, before we get back to the interview. If you don't know already, High Level is the top sales and marketing solution for any business, but particularly agency owners or anybody that needs a software product to resell to their existing customer base. It has everything you need to capture, nurture, and close leads for marketing clients. And the best part is High Level believes in not taxing the agencies on its platform, so you can get unlimited clients for one low flat monthly fee. The best features include a CRM, funnel, website and email builders, course hosting platform, robust marketing automation builder, a consolidated chat stream with WhatsApp, email, SMS, Instagram DMs, and Facebook DMs, reputation management, social media posting, tracking and analytics, and so much more. And as if that wasn't enough, High Level is fully white labeled, meaning that you can take the platform and put your own brand on the desktop and mobile app and resell it to your industry for whatever price you want. Essentially, what High Level has done is brought the bar for starting a software company way lower, so normal people like you and I can help our clients with an amazingly robust software without paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in development costs. I am not kidding when I say hands down, High Level is my favorite software of all time. It has been integral to my success with my agency. It helped me increase my clients' results and retention, and I use it every single day for my own business. And if you sign up for High Level today, not only will you get a 30-day free trial, which is not available on their website, but you'll get all of the bonuses listed at itskeaton.com/mastermind, which gets you support, templates, and courses to kickstart your high level journey and get those first few clients or scale to your next few clients. If you're already a high level customer, you can also get all of those bonuses by upgrading to the next highest plan underneath my link. Instructions for that are also at itskeaton.com/mastermind.
And then we started a 7th agency, which was a real estate wholesaler agency, because I was like, at this point, I think I got something here. So I partnered with this guy, Josh, scaled him from 20K a month to 150K a month in 90 days again. And then we started a mortgage agency, scaled it from 0 to 26K a month in 30 days. And then we did a consulting agency. We scaled it from 0 to 120K a month in 2 months. So I guess the synopsis of all that is my background is scaling companies really, really quickly. Now what I need my future to be is scaling companies really, really far.
Yeah.
Because 200K a month is cool, but 2 million a month would be much cooler.
Yeah.
So now I'm really having to shift my focus to how do we build long-term wealth, not short-term rich.
Yeah.
And so that's
got it.
Quick background.
And the consulting agency you just mentioned, that's serve others or?
Yeah. So I don't really talk about it. I don't really promote it. So I'll even leave it at that because I don't want people saying, "Oh, you're making content like it, dude." Yeah. That's it though.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's helping agencies.
Yeah.
Okay. Matt's not selling out, guys. I approve this message.
I mean, it technically, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. We're capping it at 100 people. So we've done it really differently. We don't do paid ads. I don't promote it on my YouTube. It's 100 people, and then it caps. It's already almost there. And yeah, so that's it.
And you're just selling 100 spots one time or 100 like recurring memberships?
Like 100 people can be in the mastermind at any given time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it. That's cool because I remember we talked after soccer that one day.
Yeah. You actually inspired me a lot. You were like, dude, the one person coaching model makes so much sense. And I was like, that's really interesting. And when I talked to Iman, he was like, I told him about how Hormozi had taught me, just build all this goodwill, never sell anything, and then like make your big play. And he was like, bro, like how did Hormozi really make his money in the first place?
Yeah.
Gym launch. It's the most aggressive sales company in history. Like, what do you mean don't sell anything? And I was like, you're right. That's not even, what am I doing? And so,
yeah.
And I'm guilty of this because I'll make videos where I'm like, oh, I didn't make my money selling courses, which is true. I didn't. I've made like 5% of my money has come from the agency mastermind, and I don't promote it. Not to YouTube. Yeah. Yet I do almost look down in my content. I don't actually look down, but I make it seem that like course sellers are bad. I want to be really clear. I don't think course sellers are bad at all. A course changed my life.
Yeah.
I think the fact that you can buy a course for $1,000 and it can make you a higher ROI than a $200,000 college education is insane. I think that's a beautiful thing. So I apologize for contributing to the stigma around course sellers. That said, there's a lot of scammy course sellers. Yeah. That's where the stigma comes from. So you just got to be careful.
Yeah, makes sense. So all of those, Estate AI was by far the highest MRR, most successful agency.
Direct to deals actually was it went to 275.
Oh wow!
And Estate got to 292, but that included some client ad spend, so really it was like 250.
Oh, okay. And I know, I don't actually know how this all panned out, but you were looking for a buyer like 6 months to a year ago for Estate AI.
Yes.
How did that all pan out?
A year and a half ago, the dude signed, we got an offer for $2.1 million. We'd been running the company for like 14 months, so we were like sick. Like, let's go. We made our money, walk away with a couple mil, and then...
And that was like cash up front, the 2.1?
No, half up front and then half seller financed.
Okay.
And our broker advised us to take it, and we were naive. We had never sold a company before, and so in this conversation, we didn't properly vet the buyer. He didn't actually have the money.
Got it.
He needed to get the money. And then we went through a 10-month due diligence process, and he never came up with the money. And he loved us. He loved the company. Like, I talked to him to this day. But naivety on our part and the brokers led to us not actually getting the deal. So after that, my partner and I were just like, man, we don't want to run an agency anymore, but we have this thing. We have this team. We've built something special in this space, yet like we don't want to do this anymore. So it led to us like we held on to it way too long. And I actually talked to Joel Kaplan about this a year and a half ago. I went to visit him in Denver, and he's like, so you're thinking about selling your agency? And I'm like, yeah, I just don't know if I want to do it anymore. And he's like, what's your agency do? I'm like, we run Facebook ads for realtors. And he's like, sell that shit. He's like, get rid of that. I was like, why? Just don't even care about the money. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, dude, I could make a couple million selling this thing. In retrospect, although his advice was extreme, I think he was right, because there comes a time in our lives where we have to sacrifice the pennies to really get the dollars.
Yeah.
And I think you have to recognize SMMA for most people is chasing pennies. The dollars are in software, or a lot of people find their dollars in education. The dollars are out there in these better vehicles. And sometimes we have to get rid of our previous vehicle to really fully go into the new one. And so I think I've learned that the hard way because I did not want to let go. And I still haven't fully let go of Estate AI. Like, it's still up and running and we're trying to sell it now. But I wish I had just dumped it a year and a half ago, honestly. Even when it was making money, even when it was doing really well, like it was at its all-time highs. Had I just dumped it then and gone and focused on other things, I'd be way further.
And by dumped it, you mean just like taking half of the offer and
taking a third.
Okay.
Even I would have never done it though, because I'm like, this is worth millions of dollars, and it was. But in retrospect, it would have been better to just get the mental focus and separate from it to be able to go all in on a new venture that's going to make me significantly more growth and money in the long term.
I think this take is really important, and I think a lot of beginners listening to this are going to be confused right now.
Yeah,
because
let's clarify
of the education of all the course sellers out there. Like, obviously, they're selling the agency course, and a question all of them get all the time is like, do you still run an agency? Why or why not, etc. Why isn't an agency, in your opinion, the best vehicle to make your dollars? And why is it a pennies-based vehicle?
I think it's the best vehicle to go from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
I think you should figure out how to get to 100K a month in an agency. I think when you do that, that's a really valuable skill. And I felt like I couldn't live with myself until I hit 100K a month in my agency. Yeah. It was crazy. I was like, I can't die not having hit 100K a month. That's literally how it felt. That said, the agency business model has significant limitations. And it really comes down to, if we're going to get tactical and technical, it comes down to your cost per acquisition to lifetime value ratio. That's the thing that business owners need to optimize for. How much does it cost me to acquire a customer? Then how much does each customer pay me? In the agency model, cost per acquisition is getting higher and higher, and lifetime value is staying relatively stagnant. And so there's very few agencies that can break through the ceiling of 100K, 200K, 300K a month, especially in local lead gen. Like, if you want to build a legit marketing agency, go for it. I think that's a sick play, like a VaynerMedia or like a 4Media or Bad Marketing, like what Eddie Malouf is doing. I think that's really cool. But they don't run Facebook ads for realtors. They run legit email marketing and retargeting and all this stuff for like multi 8-figure, 9-figure companies. Yeah. So it's an entirely different model. But I think the local lead gen agency just has so many limitations on getting to 8 figures. I think it's very hard to do. Yeah. And I don't know anybody except maybe Rich Fiola and Hermosi, if you want to count Hermosi, who's got into 8 figures in a local lead gen agency. And even Hermosi, it's not really local lead gen. It's like it was a licensing company and a mastermind company. Yeah. So
a lot more education in there than service.
Exactly. Yeah. It just turns into education. Yeah. Because that's where the money is. So
what about Stevie?
Stevie's at like 500, 600. So he's close. Yeah. It's not any figures yet.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
But he is close, and he's a savage. He's been doing it for 5 years. Yeah. But I don't want to run an agency for 5 years. It just doesn't excite me. Software excites me. Yeah. So
got it. So talk to me about profitability of a $250,000 a month agency, especially like when I watch your videos, you're like, I want to say you were doing like $1,000 a month with the payment plan. So it's like $1,500 a month, but if they pay up front, it's $6K. So, yeah. And then you would talk about how you take that $6K, invest it into recruiters, get the best talent, etc., which makes sense. But like, at what point are you like $1,000 a month? What's your cost to deliver on that? And then obviously you and Jared were like very much high level, like never ran an ad, never took a sales call type thing. Yeah. And you had a lot of middle management. Yeah. So what do margins look like that on that type of business? And do you think it's feasible? Like if there's someone that genuinely enjoys the agency model, wants to make, 200 to 400K a year.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah. Estate AI, even with us being almost entirely out, was making 25-30% margins.
Okay.
Our first year in business, we did like $750 in profit on $2 million in revenue.
And that's a profit, meaning you guys haven't been paid yet. That's what you
profit, including our salaries, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, but we only paid ourselves $36K a year. We're some low-paid CEOs.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you and Jared would like split that 750
right
over. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And so, but Josh, I've seen Josh's agency, like he had 50% margins up until $200K a month.
Yeah.
So margins can range from as low as 10 to as high as 50, I think, depending on the way you structure the agency. I would shoot for 30%. And yeah, you could automate an agency or spend 4 hours a week in an agency, make $500K a year relatively easily.
And what is that model?
Partners.
What does that model look like? Yeah. Because the business partners say.
Business partner, yeah. Like, so that's the thing is like half my money went to Jared, half Jared's money went to me.
Yeah.
The truth is we both weren't needed to run the agency.
Yeah.
But it did make it way more fun and it made it way more sustainable because your business partner is like it's like your life partner in that sense. It's like you go to them for anything and like you know you have each other's backs. It makes it a lot easier when shit hits the fan. Yeah. Excuse my French. But yeah, so the model to get to 400, 500K a year without business partners is, in my opinion, you have one salesperson, you have one setter, you have one CSM, you have one media buyer, and then you have like a general manager. And that entire team might cost you 20K a month in payroll, 30K a month in payroll, tops. And then you can manage 100K a month worth of revenue with just that team.
Okay.
And then it's just about making sure your input and your output match every single month. So if you know you have 50 clients and you have 10% churn, that means you're going to lose 5 clients every month. That means that one sales guy, he just needs to get at least 5 clients every month and you're going to stay right at 50. And then you just give them really good incentives. You give the general manager profit share, maybe even some equity. And then you just make sure the team is well incentivized to match your goals. It's like Charlie Munger said, the most important part of management is getting the incentives right.
Yeah.
So if you can get the incentives right, everything takes care of itself. And so if you get the right people, small, tight-knit crew, give them good incentives, and you have a clear goal of like, this is what I want, and you don't try to go beyond it, as appealing as it might be, then I think you can sustainably make 300, 400, 500, even $1 million a year in profit.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of basically what you guys did, like we have 3 creatives, we have like a copy paste system that's like so simple. And then and that scales very well. And then the other thing I've seen scale fairly well is like a fully managed service where you're charging so much that you can invest in like really good talent. And even though there's potentially more custom work in that, like let's say you're charging $8-10 grand a month to manage website, SEO, Facebook, Google, like there's so much more profit per customer that you can afford to spend a lot more to acquire them.
Yeah.
And then you can sell like a 12-month contract or something like that. But the middle ground is where I see people get lost, where you're like, yeah, we do ads, but like, oh yeah, we can also do this and we can do that and we can do that. Yeah. And it turns into like you're bending over backwards for people that are paying you pennies. And that's where people burn out.
Yeah.
And the boundary, like if there's one word I can tell every single agency owner, like scream it from the rooftops, is like boundaries. Like do not go past like scope of work. And if somebody asks you to do something more, you charge them or you say.
It's interesting because we don't really face that in our agencies, and maybe it's just the niches we were going after. But like we didn't deal with a lot of people like wanting things that we didn't do.
But like follow up, for example, like you guys, you trained them to follow up, right? You also had like, did you have automations or AI setters?
Yeah, well, we had Appointwise for the clients. We had it towards the end of our agency. We were using Capri before that. Then we switched, night and day difference. And that was our setter via SMS. And then we trained the clients how to call on top of that.
I get your niche. Like you run some good Facebook ads for a realtor, like they're kind of one-man bands, like they're going to be busy. You train them on some stuff.
Yeah.
I think a lot of other local scenarios is like the churn is so high because they're not following up with the leads. They try to train them, but like it's the front desk staff that's getting paid $15 an hour, not the business owner that it's actually tied to like their income. So that boundary stuff becomes a lot more important when you're dealing with potentially less tech savvy clients that are like, can you do this? And they don't understand that means an extra, even if it's an extra 1 or 2 hours of work for your team, that compounds and you're screwed eventually.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So talk to us more about Appointwise. I don't even know. I was like watching your channel on the Uber ride over today, and I was like, okay, here's the Appointwise link. He was talking about this at dinner last night. What is it? Did you start it while you were running Estate AI?
So good question. So I was a customer of Appointwise actually.
Okay.
I got referred to it by a friend of mine, Ibrahim Turner.
Okay.
He makes agency content too. He used to at least. He was running an agency and he said, dude, you got to check out this software. It's sick. It's changing the game for our clients. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll check it out. I look at it and I'm like, this is pretty sick. And basically it was automated appointment booking via SMS, all AI driven. And it was a conversational AI, but like way better than what GHL had at the time and way better than Capri that we were using. So I was like, all right, let me check this out, sign up to it, instantly fall in love with the platform. The software was really cool. Met the co-founders, met the people running it, and they were just like really, really good. I mean, they just really took care of their customers, or at least they were taking good care of me. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And then I knew I always wanted to get into software. Like since I was 17 years old, all I wanted to do was start a software company and like build something that was big in the SaaS space. And that's the whole reason I got into agencies, was I wanted the experience, the resources, and the capital to be able to fund software ventures. And so they came to me one day. I was actually about to go to them. I was like, hey, would you guys be interested in partnering at all? And I think I messaged them that. And they said, yeah, actually, we were just about to hit you up because we want to bring on some partners.
Nice.
So I hop on a call with them, end up partnering with them. And it was a great deal for both of us because I was able to quadruple their user base from one YouTube video in like 1 month. And I was able to get a decent amount of equity in the company without having to spend any money developing or buying in. So it's just kind of like upside only for me. And I really think the product solves a big problem. Like the fact I was a customer of it gave me all the conviction I needed. And the more customers I've talked to from the platform, I see the case studies people are getting. I'm like, dude, this is like, sometimes I can't even believe. And it's not that it's perfect. Like, you know, it's not perfect by any means, but it's really freaking good. And I talk to people who are like, yeah, my client got 10 appointments in the last week without having to call any of his leads. I'm like, what? Like, dude, our clients weren't even doing that well. So it's been sick, and it makes a lot of sense for me because I've built this 5 years of agency reputation and history. I could just sell a course and like make that the main thing I promote and run ads to that or whatever, or I could do things different and I could really build a cool software company, and that actually solves a problem for the space that I care about. And it just made a lot of sense for me. So I partnered with them, and we're trying to scale it up and take over Closebot. We're coming for you guys. And yeah.
So how does it compare to the other like competitors in the space?
And well, it's way better. No.
It just is. Trust
just trust. Just trust, sign up for a plan, and don't cancel ever. So I think what I really liked about theirs, the appeal that it had to me, is the simplicity. And I'm reading this book right now called Behind the Cloud about Salesforce and how Mark Benioff scaled it from just an idea to, the biggest CRM company in the world. And they pioneered a whole new version of software, which I didn't know because they did this while I was like 2 years old. But one of the things he talks about is simplicity in the product. Like Salesforce was so cool because it was so easy to use. Appointwise is so easy to use. If you go to like a Closebot or a Zappy chat, they're powerful, they're good, but about the same level as Appointwise. and it takes like 5 times as long to set up those softwares, those platforms. Like I know this one guy who's like, yeah, man, I spent 12 hours setting up my Closebot AI. I'm like, dude, you could have done that same thing in 2 minutes on Appointwise. So the simplicity of product, the simplicity of the user interface is something we spent a lot of time on. We're spending more time on right now. On top of that, the pricing. We don't charge per message. Every other AI bot charges like anywhere from 1 to 5 cents per message.
Yeah, that's huge.
So if you send 10,000 messages, that's
$100 minimum.
$500. Yeah, $100 to $500. Just in those fees.
Not including SMS fees.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you have to pay whatever it is, $200 a month for an account, $500 a month for an account. So you end up spending $1,000 when you could have just paid $297 to have unlimited on Appointwise.
Yeah.
So pricing, product, simplicity, and then we're going to do some really cool things with the marketing too, which is going to be fun.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the plan right now. That's why I think it's different, because the truth is I could have partnered probably with any of those companies, at least in some capacity. But I chose them because I think they have the right mission, the right vision for what they're trying to do.
What can you tell us about the technical team and the founders?
I can try. I can try to. Oh, yeah. If we get technical team, I can talk about technical.
I'm just
back end. No, I don't understand.
Yeah. I just mean for me, it's a big, like when I look at GHL, like I can
see Sean,
Varun and Robin, and like I've sat down and chatted with them, and I'm like, I feel like I could go, grab a drink with these guys, and like, they're down to earth, but they're also like insanely committed to their customers.
Yeah.
So tell us about who's the Sean Clark of Appointwise? Yeah,
that's a really good question, because I think that's actually that's what made me really want to partner with them, is like I believed in them. Really, like I'm a big believer that you bet on people more than anything. And the main, like the CEO is this guy named Lachlan. They're both, all 3 founders actually are from London. Now they're based in the UK. One of them I can't talk about because he does some other like big stuff, and I can't share who he is. But Locke and Ollie are the main 2 faces, and yeah, Locke's just down to earth guy, scaled an agency to like $30K a month. Had started building a Zapier AI integration into GHL. People were going nuts for it a year ago. And he was like, man, maybe we have something here. So ever since then, him and Ollie have been developing this technology that's now Appointwise. But yeah, they're just really down to earth people. Like I went to London to meet up with him, and Locke and I just ran like a quick 5K, talking about life, talked about how, we need a wife who runs, because it's just like, we're like, yes, there's so much character in female athletes. Like, so it's just cool dudes, like, like simple guys you can hang out with, have a beer with, talk shop with, but also like they really, really love Appointwise. They love their customers, and the customers really love them. That was another big thing for me. It's like I needed to figure out what people besides myself thought, and the more people I talked to, they're like, yo, this is sick.
And are they devs? Like
Ollie is, Locke's not.
Okay.
Locke's about as technically savvy as me, probably. God, it's not good.
It's interesting. It's like at dinner last night, we were talking about how a system cannot be solved, or some problems within a system that cannot be solved unless you were outside the system.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's having a non-technical founder who's like, no, make it simpler. Like, no, do this. But also having the founder, the trouble is, and this happened to me, like you get taken advantage of by the technical people if you don't have enough speak. And so having someone you can trust implicitly to manage the devs, because they will bleed you dry and say, no, it's not possible, unless you have someone on the tech team that's like, hey, no, this is possible. This is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
But combining that with, and I think this is why High Level's done so well, because they have so much strong dev stuff, but then Robin came from the agency world, and they've just talked to their customers so much. But having the people that are just like, no, can you just make it look this way? This is what it needs. This is what the user experience needs to be. And then having someone that can manage the devs and deal with whatever, bullshit they try to show.
Yeah, there's one thing I would add on to that, which is somebody who understands the problem from a firsthand experience.
Yeah.
The fact that they started with their agencies and they faced this problem, the fact that I've worked with over 1,000 clients in different niches and I've faced this problem in every single niche of how do we convert more leads, like having that understanding of the problem is so invaluable.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's Michael Seibel or Sam Altman, one of the OGs of Y Combinator. They talk about the tier list of problem solving. It's like, well, it's good if you know somebody who has the problem. It's better if you've had this problem yourself and you faced it yourself because you're going to be able to build a better solution to it.
Yeah.
So it matched that as well. It's like, I know this problem intimately well, and that makes me more inclined to be able to solve it, more passionate about solving it, all that good stuff.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's cool. I mean, just goes to show the power of content and personal brand. Because when we were talking a few months ago, you were like, I want to make a bunch of money so I can start a software.
Yeah.
And instead you made a YouTube video so you could partner with the software.
Yeah.
So would the plan be to like grow this potential exit, or maybe just keep growing it and then just do softwares the rest of your life?
I'd love to build a portfolio of software companies.
Yeah.
My mission is to help create freedom in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's 4 types of slavery. I think there's mental slavery, physical slavery, financial slavery, and spiritual slavery. And so if I want to be able to impact those 4 pillars, it's much harder for me to pour if my bucket's empty.
Yeah.
Because if I can't provide for myself, how can I really provide for somebody else? So my goal, the reason I've been more fired up about business than I have ever in my entire life, and it's because I finally see the reason that the game is worth playing. And it's worth playing because you can actually use it as an instrument to serve others. And it's tough because that does mean you have to serve yourself to some extent too. Like you have to take care of yourself. You have to make your money. You have to prove that you know what you're doing in business. But ultimately, all of that becomes a vehicle that you can pick other people up in and say, hey, come along for the ride. And that's what's really exciting for me. And I think software is the best path to be able to create impactful products and serve as many people as possible. I think it's really hard to impact as many people as possible in like a marketing agency, for example.
Yeah.
So that's the vehicle that I've always felt drawn towards. And so the goal is to scale this up, at least get an 8-figure exit, maybe try to push for 9. We'll see. It's a tough space right now, but if I can do that, then I have proof of concept and I can hopefully build a portfolio and help other people do the same thing with their software companies.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought this up because it brings up something I wanted to get into with you, which is like work-life balance. I feel like I came into the business world with that mindset at the beginning, like, oh, this is about serving others. Like, I'm going to do great things. And then I didn't focus on profit. I didn't focus on like the skills that I needed to gain in order to be able to help other people. I did to an extent, but it took me too long because I was so outward focused that it was like I couldn't take care of myself in the first place. And I feel like in retrospect, or maybe just today, I'm like, okay, I realize how important it is to, in like England or Ireland, they'd say like mind yourself, like take care of yourself, and then you'll be able to do that serving. How do you look at that, and how do you make sure that you're getting taken care of?
Yeah, it's such a great question, dude. I've been thinking about this so much over the last couple of months. I went to see Jordan Peterson here in Charlotte like a few weeks ago. And the main takeaway I had from his talk was if you really want to find your calling, it needs to be the right balance of enthusiasm. In the Greek word, enthusiasmos means possessed by the Spirit of God. So it needs to be something that makes you feel like this is just what I'm here for. So your work needs to be a balance of enthusiasm and sacrifice for the greater good. So something that benefits and brings other people up, but also makes you feel inspired to do. And the problem for me is I went way too far on this side. of sacrifice for the greater good. Who cares about Matt? Who cares if Matt's passionate about it? Who cares? It doesn't matter. Sacrifice for the greater good. That's where I was starting to go. And I realized I'm not going to do great work that way. It's not going to be a sacrifice to anybody because nothing fruitful is going to come from it because I'm not passionate about it. I need to be enthusiastic, but I need to see the way that this serves others, that this makes a difference in other people's lives too. And if you can find the right dichotomy, the right balance of those two, then I think you have something really special. So yeah, I hear what you're saying 100%. And for me, the way I make sure I'm taken care of is, I was reading in the Word today, Mark 6, Jesus sends all the disciples out 2 by 2, and then this is right after he goes to his hometown and like nobody's receptive to him, and like he heals a few people, but he was amazed by their disbelief is what it says. He was amazed by their disbelief. Then he sends the disciples out. Then Herod kills John the Baptist. Then they cross the sea and he sees the crowds and he has compassion on the crowds. But I think actually right before that, he has all the disciples rest. He's like, take a second, rest, basically spend some time alone because they had been working so hard. They've been going so hard. He says, take some time and rest. And so I think a really important concept for entrepreneurs to grasp is having some sort of conscious rest, some sort of process where you can separate from the business, you can rest your mind, you can rest your body, you can recuperate yourself. For me, I love going to the beach for a weekend, for a week. If I can just go to the beach once a quarter for 1 week, like that's my zone. And Sam Ovens talked about this like way back when. He said every quarter I do a 1 week retreat.
Yeah, remember.
And I was like, that's perfect. That's all I need. 1 week every quarter where I just do no work. I just sit with my thoughts. I read, I write. That's the goal.
Yeah.
So having some sort of active rest, I think, is important.
And you're like unplugged when you go.
I like to be, but I don't do a good job of it.
Okay.
It's really hard. But in 2 weeks, I'm going to the beach with my family, and I'm going to try to be completely unplugged. For the first time probably ever, I'm going to try not to go on Slack or email or anything. I'll let you know how I do.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to completely separate for a week and see what happens. So, yeah, that concept of rest and having good support around you.
Mm-hmm.
For me, faith is obviously a big driver of knowing that it just from like giving me the strength to do what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. I get overwhelmed. I get scared. I get frustrated. It's not easy. But if I remind myself what I'm doing it for, then it makes it a lot more bearable.
And how do you think about your mission compared to like, I assume you want a family one day.
Yeah.
When you have that family, let's say, I don't know how many kids you want, but let's say you have a wife, couple kids. How do you foresee yourself balancing the mission to serve others and want to grow software companies and, like maybe be a super dad and be around all the time? I don't know if that's your desire or what.
It's tough, dude. I know I want a family, but I'll be honest, like I was agnostic about it until like maybe a few months ago.
Wow.
To where I was like, I wouldn't mind being an entrepreneur the rest of my life. But then I realized there's a reason we're able to procreate. It's because like we're supposed to procreate. We're supposed to have children. We're supposed to raise families. That's what we're designed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you believe in evolution, creation, it doesn't matter. Like we biologically are here to be able to reproduce. So I was like, okay, maybe it makes sense for me to really give that some focus. I don't know how I would balance it right now. I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
Granted, a lot of my time right now is like reading and chilling and like just thinking of really big ideas, which is what I love.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not grinding 12 hours a day like I used to. Yeah. So I think by the time I have kids, if I can have kids by the time I'm like 35, 40, well, hopefully we've got 8 figs, 9 figs in the bank by then, and we can chill, and I can take my time, and I can have my passion projects, and we're good, and I don't have to worry about money at all, and I can be that super dad for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
But the mission will always come first for me, and that hopefully my future wife's not watching this, but like it's the mission will always come first. Of course, my family is a huge part of that mission, and I'm never gonna like screw over my family because, hey guys, I gotta go serve everybody else besides you. Like that'd be kind of foolish.
Yeah.
But I will always prioritize what I feel like God wants me to do over anything else. And I feel like God's going to want me to be a good father and a good husband. So he's not going to, make me cut off my sons and my daughters. But you never know. Jesus says, like, whoever chooses their mother or father over me is not worthy of me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting thing to say. Like, whoa, if I put my relationship with my mom and my dad above you, I don't deserve it. Like, but if Jesus is ultimately your creator, if he's your true family, in the sense that, like, he's the one who created you and gave you this life, then he's just as much your father.
Got it.
So that's kind of my perspective on it. And it's a tough thing to balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So along those lines, how old are you?
I'm 23.
Okay. So you're 23. Would it be safe to say you have more money than you know what to do with?
I could figure out some things to do with it.
Okay.
I don't know how to spend my money.
Yeah.
So that's fair, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm not like Iman. It's not even close.
Yeah.
He's got so much more money than me. It's crazy.
But it even like 30, 40K a month profit, like you're taking that home. Sometimes it's hard to know what to do with that.
Sure.
Put it in the S&P 500 or, invest in a business, whatever, right? But what's it like? Like, I feel like most people in that position kind of end up going crazy, maybe like hedonism, go out into the world, and your journey has kind of been the exact opposite, where like the more successful in the world you've become, the more you've turned to God, right?
Yeah.
What do you think made that difference?
That's a great question. I thought about this yesterday when I talked to Brett, not Brett Watts, but the other Brett, after everybody left. It was actually pretty crazy conversation. But I was talking to him and I started thinking about this. Part of what led me to God is the fact that I chased down my idol. My idol was money.
Yeah.
My God was money. Many entrepreneurs, whether they realize it or not, their God is money. I chased it down. I grabbed it in my hands and I saw it for myself, and I saw it for what it was, which is an illusion. It's nothing. Money's created by man. It has no inherent value.
Yeah.
Even Ray Dalio, probably the greatest money manager of the modern day, has said money is just a storehold of value or a transference of wealth, meaning money in itself has no value. So I found that out for myself once I made the money. And I got to this point last year where I had achieved the goals I wanted. I'd hit the 100K month. I had traveled the world. I had met the beautiful women that I thought were going to make me feel all good about myself. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is a trick. This is a deception. This is an illusion. What else is out there? There's got to be something. This can't be what I was made for. This can't be my purpose. This can't be the reason I'm here. And so I went on this really existential investigation of what is truth? What is true? And what am I here for? And what am I on this planet for? And the conclusion I came to at first was, there is no truth. There is no purpose. You're not here for anything at all. And it led me to nihilism. And so I became a nihilist, and I got really into nihilism, which is the idea that nothing matters. There is no purpose at all. And I even started writing a book, I mentioned this last night, called Nothing Matters at All. Great title for a book. Why would you write a book if it doesn't matter? And that's the thing about nihilism, is it's almost self-refuting in your actions. But eventually, these people prayed for me, and I denounced God. Actually, I denounced God after seeking for like 5 years. I said, God, I don't even think you're there. I've wasted 5 years. I'm just going to be a good person. You can take it out with me when I die, I guess.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, I go back home from a trip I was on where I denounced God, and then I visit my roommate, who was an atheist at the time, Kyle Knox, and he ended up telling me, while you were gone, I think I believe in God now. So he tells me these crazy stories that happened to him. Then his sister says a prayer for me the next day. God reveals himself to me, makes my head hurt. Then the next day he reveals himself to me again. And then thing after thing just kept happening where I was like, maybe there's something out there. And so I went on this really long 7-month journey of investigating and trying to figure out, what is this God thing? Is he real? why are these things happening to me? Why can I not seem to find any purpose in my life without assuming that there is a creator? And then I realized, well, that's because purpose presupposes a creator. Purpose, the word, means the reason for which something is created. So if there's no reason for you being created, there is no purpose. And if there's no objective creator, then there is no reason for you being created. It's all just a great coincidence. There's no objective purpose behind it.
Yeah.
So I said, well, in order for me to have purpose, there needs to be a creator. Then I had to ask, well, would a creator make all of us and then never make himself available? It's like, that'd be like the greatest deadbeat dad in history, you know? And I was like, well, I don't think so. But I would understand if he only made himself available if we actually really care about knowing him. So I went on this path of trying to find him and seek him. And I had a ton of crazy things happen to me. I shared it with Brett last night, and eventually none of those things convinced me. That's the crazy thing, is none of the miracles that happened to me convinced me. They made me seek, they made me interested, but they didn't make me believe. It wasn't until these guys prayed for me in church one time and they said, God, make the Bible come alive to Matt. And I went home 8 hours later. I picked up the Gospel of Matthew, which I'd read twice before. And I picked it up, and it was like it was a different book than I'd ever read. And I was just like smiling, laughing, crying, reading this book. Like it was the weirdest thing in the world. And it was just like a different book. It was like different text. And I just kept going through it. I couldn't put it down, and I haven't been able to put it down since. And it was that convicted me. It was the word of God that convicted me that he was real. I had plenty of reasons to try to justify my faith with apologetics and different arguments and the miraculous encounters I had. But the thing that actually convicted me was when I read the Bible. You know, I have one tattoo, and it's this word in Greek, logos. I got this tattoo 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, in Medellin, Colombia. It's my only tattoo. And I got it because I was really into Stoicism. Stoicism is obviously really popular philosophy even today. And in Stoicism, logos means destiny. It means everything happens for a reason, basically. Everything happens according to how nature wills it to happen. And so I got this tattoo, logos, because I was like, you know, if anything bad happens to me, I can just say, hey, this is nature. It's part of the game, part of the plan. Turns out logos also means Jesus in the New Testament, because the New Testament was written in Greek. And logos in Greek means word. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So Jesus is being referred to there as the Word, the logos. And so I got this tattoo for Stoicism, but then it ended up actually being the Word of God. So that's just another thing that happened, I guess, over time that I realized is a kind of funny coincidence, shall you say.
So how is that, that whole experience affected the way that you show up in business? I know you mentioned like now you're more service oriented. It's about helping other people, but it sounds to me like there's a brand new lens with which maybe you see everything. How does, on a day-to-day basis, do you find yourself like talking to people differently or referring to them or thinking about problems differently because of that?
That's a really good question. I would say it's given me much more struggle with how I'm used to doing business. Because the way I was used to doing business was not godly at all. It was, let's make money and just like not break the law. And like I had a moral and an ethic. It's not like I didn't have that before, but it didn't mean as much to me. Now I'm trying to honor God in my actions, in my business more consciously than I have obviously ever in the past. So I'm trying to think about, how do I talk to this customer? How do I talk to this team member? Do I get frustrated and lose my crap if somebody, you know, messes up on the team? Which I didn't do before. But, you know, I'm just more aware of how am I acting? How am I presenting myself? How am I honoring God through my actions and through this business? And it all comes back to, what is the foundation of why I'm doing this? And when I do things for myself, when I'm the forefront of my decision making, it comes back to bite me But when I put God first and it's actually for God, it's never done me wrong. The problem is I don't always put God first. As much as I want to, I don't always. And so that's the challenge and the battle that I'm fighting now, is really making him the North Star.
And have you found, like for me, when I started out growing up, very religious, I felt like I had a lot of internalized, like, money is bad, sales is bad. Like, a lot of that scripts I kind of had to get rid of if I was ever going to be successful.
Yeah.
And you sort of have to live with the dichotomy of, like, you know, there's a lot in the Bible that says wealth is, you know, it's harder for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a wealthy man to enter the kingdom of heaven, I think is the quote. And like that affected me in a big way. Do you feel like those types of messages have affected the way you think about making money?
Yeah, like 1 Timothy, I think it's chapter 6, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. A lot of people say love of money is the root of all evil. It's different, not exactly what the text says if you look at the real translation, but there's all these conflicting verses almost, it seems.
Yeah.
I struggled with it for a little bit, but I just went deeper into it. And there's nothing in the Bible that I've seen that says money is inherently bad. It's always referred to, anytime money is criticized, is because of the person's relationship with money. It's just like a woman is a beautiful thing, just like a man's a great thing for a woman to have. A woman's a beautiful thing for a man to have. But if the man's having the woman without her consent, that's not a beautiful thing anymore. That's an evil thing. Or if it's outside of wedlock, that's not a beautiful thing. That's an evil thing. I know that might be extreme for some people, and I'm guilty of doing that plenty of times. So like, maybe evil is a strong word there, but it's an unholy thing, let's say. So it's not money that's the problem. It's the relationship and the perspective we have of money. And I think God makes this really clear. If you just read Solomon, he says, money solves all. He's like, money is the solution to all problems. Well, if money's the solution to all problems, according to King Solomon, could it really be such an evil thing if it's the solution to all problems? Now, I think there's some metaphoric speech happening there. It's not the solution to your impending death, but it's the solution to a lot of the problems we face, I think, is what he's getting at. So I don't think the Bible actually does condemn money. I think it condemns idolizing money. Jesus said, you cannot serve two masters. You'll love the one and you'll hate the other. You'll be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and mammon. Mammon is money. So you can't serve both. Doesn't mean you can't have money and God. You can't serve money and God. And that's a big distinction that when I was able to make, I think I saw it pretty clearly that money is not the problem. My relationship to it is. And that's the thing I need to be careful for and keep an eye on is, am I putting money above God?
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing.
So the thing I struggle with there is like, I feel like the time that you have to spend to make money is so much more than the time that most, self-proclaimed God followers actually spend maybe studying what they feel to be the Word of God, or, out serving the poor, et cetera, et cetera. Like, if you just look at how people spend their time, it's not actually congruent with that. And I think it's part of like how society's set up. We've got to live, we've got to make money. How do you think about that? Like, is there a part of you that just wants to be spending 12 hours a day studying the Bible and like helping?
Literally last year, as I surrendered I surrendered business to God because I'm struggling hard. I was like, God, I don't know if you want me to be an entrepreneur or not, but I feel like my whole life you've shown me like I'm meant to be an entrepreneur. But on the other hand, it's like, if you want me to just become a theologian or a preacher or something, like, I'll do it. I won't be able to answer this question in time.
Yeah.
So I have to go.
That's fine. Do that.
But let me see if they did move it back. Okay. Well, that meeting's canceled. So, oh no, here you go. And we lost a buyer for a State AI live on podcast. So the book of Ecclesiastes is really interesting because Solomon has this whole existential crisis of, I looked at everything under the sun and I perceived it all as vanity and a striving after wind. all is vanity is the conclusion. This most successful and wise person in all of history, even adjusted for inflation. Like Solomon had more than anybody in history has ever had, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
And he said all is vanity and a striving after wind. And there is nothing that matters under the sun, right? And then he concludes the book of Ecclesiastes with, it's good for man to enjoy his toil, which is the work of his hands. So he comes to the conclusion that we're here to work and create, because like that's what God did. He created us. It was work. That's why he rested on the seventh day. So we are here to enjoy the work of our hands and to use it for good. And I think Solomon comes to that conclusion. And I think the problem that people actually have, and maybe the problem you were struggling with, is not that the work was separating you from God, but that the work was separating you from God, but not because it was the work itself. It's because God was not invited into the work. If the work was for him, if the work was with him, if God was your business partner, then it wouldn't separate anybody anymore, right? This would be with God and for God. So I think the problem a lot of people have is they don't know how to honor God in what they do. Solomon says in Proverbs, submit your plans to the Lord and they will be established. So if you submit whatever you're doing right now to God, to a greater power, and you say, look, this is for you. This is for you. Use me however you want in this, but this is yours, then it doesn't take you away anymore because it's for him and it's with him.
Got it.
And every morning you can invite him in, like, God, what do you want me to focus on today?
Yeah, so what would you say, this is something I've observed and like how I grew up isn't, I don't know, I guess some people in my circles would have done this, but in a different way. But what would you say about people who use their status as like a Christian or a follower of God to basically like sell more of the stuff that they're trying to sell?
Yeah. That's not where I thought you were going with the question, but okay, that's a good question. So
where did you think I was going?
I thought you were, like, how do you feel about religious people who like use their faith for like corruption and power? And, you know, like the evil.
Yeah, I guess it's along those lines, but specifically like they like lead with that identity to call out more people like that, and anyway.
It's interesting. I've had conversations with my roommates about this, and we've definitely been skeptical of people who do that. I will say this: if you want to serve Christian entrepreneurs, like you have to call out your audience.
Yeah.
Like if that's you, good. That the call out in itself doesn't make it twisted or evil or wrong.
Okay.
It's then what do you deliver on to those people? Like, do you honor the promises you make to them? Just saying, hey, Christian entrepreneurs, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, what inherently is wrong with calling out that group? Nothing. But if then you say, Christian entrepreneurs, we'll pray for your business to double for the next 12 months or something. Like, we'll help you double your revenue through an intimate 12-hour prayer session for $12,000. Like, okay, that's a different thing. But if you're just like, hey, Christian entrepreneurs, we have a community of other Christian entrepreneurs. We're all growing together, trying to grow spiritually, trying to grow our businesses and build and develop and become better people. If you want to join. Like, that's no different than sales professionals want to join our sales community. You're just calling out your audience.
Yeah.
If you start, the word says, Solomon said, buy wisdom and do not sell it. So the second you start selling wisdom, which the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. So the second you start selling the fear of the Lord, that's where I get a little bit confused. Okay. But just saying, hey, you're a Christian entrepreneur or Muslim entrepreneur or whatever, you want to join more people who are on the same path as you, probably have a lot of similar values as you, probably you'll get along with really well. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's not how I would approach it because I have some hesitations, I guess, with my own just dialogue there around that. But I don't condemn anybody for that.
Do you feel like they're kind of, it's like putting up an AI picture of you and a celebrity and being like, look, I met the celebrity, and using the clout of that celebrity to sell more of your stuff? But obviously it's not an AI picture because anybody can say I'm a Christian.
Yeah, I don't look at it the same, because saying that you're a believer in God does not mean that you actually know God. And any believer in God knows that there are many false prophets. And the word tells us very clearly, be careful of wolves in sheep's clothing. So I don't equate it as like, I'm using God to get you into my business, unless somebody is trying to use God to get them into their business. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
If you're like, God wants you to join my mastermind. Again, now I got a problem. But if you're just saying, hey, like, I'm a believer in God, you're a believer in God, cool. Now, I will say, there are some people who, I can't think of anybody who just doesn't believe in God and is doing this and like literally just faking faith.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, and like they're memorizing Bible verses or something. Like, I don't know anybody doing that, but there are some people who definitely should not be teaching.
Yeah.
And should not be coaching that specific group of Christian entrepreneurs. James says very clearly in his book, he says, not all of us should be teachers, brothers and sisters, for we know we'll be judged to a higher degree. Not many of us should be teachers.
Okay.
So many people are not ready to put on the weight that's required to teach, and they jump the gun because of worldly status and pride. James says, so I love the book of James. It's such a good book. He says, you do not receive because you do not ask. And you do not receive when you do ask because you ask wrongly, hoping to use your spiritual gifts for your own fleshly desires. So a lot of people abuse their faith for their flesh. And that is, I think, kind of what you're getting at here is, you know, be skeptical of that. And I think that's a fair message. Everybody should be skeptical and use their discernment well.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I think it's not as cut and dry as like,
everybody's bad and everybody's
everybody's good, or even that everybody using that call out is using it with a good intention, or there's nothing wrong with that. Because like the other example that comes to mind is like somebody posting a thirst trap to Instagram, and the caption is like, I do it all for God.
That's just crazy. I mean, that's just like that's
but they're building their body. God wants my body to be good, like
building the temple, you know? Yeah, like somebody's like, like building the temple. Okay, fair.
But they're posting, I'm not trying to defend them, I'm just being devil's advocate here. Like, to me, I'm like, you amassing followers based on the way your body looks and claiming it to be God, like you're doing that for God, something just smells a little fishy. And I think that's the same business-wise for me. But I know, like, to me, it doesn't seem like a lot of these people are bad-intentioned.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Is I do think people mess up and get it wrong because they don't know this. They don't know the Word of God.
Yeah,
they don't know the Scriptures, and so they think they're just building the temple and like building strength, and they just don't know the Word. So they post their picture of like, my biceps are freaking getting yoked today, and they think it's inspiring and good, but in fact, it actually is. It is causing others to sin, right? If a girl's watching that, or if a guy's watching a picture of a girl who's like building her body and she's like in some outfit or whatever, like, yeah, that's causing others to fall into temptation.
Got it.
But I don't think many people know that. They probably do in their hearts if they were to investigate deep enough. But yeah, I try to think people have decent intentions.
Got it.
Until they really, really prove me otherwise.
I like that about you. I think like you really live up to that in a big way. Like even what we're talking about with Iman, like you suspended judgment until you met him, and despite what anyone says, you'll go off of your own experience with them.
I try to.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. I've judged plenty of people. It's another place the Word of God comes in handy. Matthew 7:1, judge not so you may not be judged. The judgment you pronounce will be the judgment you receive. The measurement you give is the measurement you get. When that hit me, I was like, oh, the reason I'm so worried about other people judging me is because I'm judging them. If I just didn't judge anyone, I wouldn't even care if they judged me, because I wouldn't judge them for judging me. And it's like, when that hit, this like, that's a profound, I haven't cultivated it. I wish I could. I'm trying to grab it. But that's a profound sense of love that I've not seen taught to that degree anywhere else than in that chapter of Matthew. The measurement you give is the measurement you get. And if you didn't judge others, they wouldn't judge you, because you wouldn't even care about their judgment. It wouldn't even mean anything to you.
So,
I do want to bring something up though, because anytime I'm quoting these Bible verses, it's making me think of something Max said to me where he would like tell you these kind of lessons or something, and then or like these things he's learning, and you would be like, well, Mac, it's almost like that's in the Bible, because it is, there's a lot of good stuff in there. So, well, maybe we could talk about that off camera, but I'm curious your thoughts on scripture. Maybe maybe that's something we talk about off camera. But it made me think of that because I know you I guess by that statement I would assume see some wisdom and some value in it too.
Yeah, there's I think for me this is like the first time I've really been public about this. All this is very
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, by the way, so like we can cut all this out if you want.
Where I'm currently at is like the things in scripture are not unique, and the good things in scripture are not unique. I feel like there's what you mentioned, like the golden rule is very similar to that, and then the unique things about religion in particular I think are not good, at least for me, and haven't served me well, and that may change at some point in my life, but I'm just like I'm recovering from a lifetime of like self-worth issues because of that. So I we'll get into it another day.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm at. But the other thing I wanted to ask you is, what about like marketing agencies for churches and like the business of running a church? How do you feel about that morally?
Marketing agencies for churches.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, if you get results, you get results. Like, again, I don't think the thing can inherently be wrong. I think there's so much nuance to it. Nothing God created is inherently wrong.
Okay.
It's wrong when it's twisted.
Yeah.
So marketing was created by God. It's not wrong to market. If you believe in your product, you should market. The reason I talk about Appointwise so much is like I actually believe in it more than any product I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
So marketing's not inherently bad. Business is not inherently bad. Church is not inherently bad. These things are created by God. But when you start marketing with a deceitful message to lead people to a church that doesn't have their best interest in heart and just wants a bunch of worldly gain by getting a ton of tithing, well, yeah, then we got a problem on our hands.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of nuance to it. I would say, hot take, Christians will get mad at me for this one probably. It's funny, usually the Christians are the one who get the most mad at the other Christians, which is exactly what the enemy wants, by the way. But
yeah.
I've tithed once or twice, but like generally speaking, I don't give my money to church. I just don't. And there's not a church there's one or two churches I've come in contact with where I'm like, I would actually feel comfortable giving my money here. But even then, there's like a little thing in me that's like, and it might be spiritual on mine. It might be something I need to work on my end. I prefer to just give directly to the source.
Yeah.
So for example, there's this thing called compassion.com where you can go and you can sponsor children. I love going to that site and just sponsoring the children directly because I know what it's going to.
Yeah.
When I give the money to the church, it's a lot like giving the money to the government.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's being spent on.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel weird because my preacher shows up in a new Benz truck. I'm like, okay, look, dude, do your thing, bro, but it better come from book sales or something.
Yeah.
And even then, it's like, it's a bad sign. That's why, again, many of us should not be teachers.
Yeah.
Because we need to be they are held to a higher standard. So I don't think it's inherently wrong, but there's obviously a lot of corrupt churches. There's obviously a lot of corrupt marketing agencies. There's obviously, I think, also people who have good intentions and make mistakes in both of those paths. I mean, I know in my marketing agencies, there's plenty of times we let customers down. And it sucks. I think anybody who runs an agency can relate. It's the worst feeling in the world when you let a customer down.
Yeah.
But I don't think when that happens, it means you're a bad person. I think it means you made a mistake and you're supposed to learn from it.
Got it. To me, it's like drawing that line of like, okay, how much should the pastor make? Like, is it $100,000 a year? Is it $200,000 a year? Like, where does that, like, morally, where does that line get drawn?
Good question.
It's not easy to answer, and the obscene wealth of some of them, I feel like
obscene wealth is scary.
Yeah.
The private jets and the mega mansions is interesting. I mean, it does say like teachers should earn their living by their work. So like they are to make their living doing this. They've dedicated their life to teaching the word of God. I have no problems if my preacher makes a good living. I want him to live a good life. Like, but once he starts becoming a victim of the world, and that's what he's living for more than he's living for God, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
But like if a preacher makes $200,000 a year, that's tough. I'm not inherently against that.
Got it.
$500K a year. Oh, we're getting up there. We're getting up there. But like, do you think? Like, I don't know. It's tough. It's so tough. It's so tough. I think it should be percentage based. Maybe that's the solution. Percentage has to be given, and then a percentage can be spent.
Yeah.
And the preacher makes a percentage of what the whole congregation brings in or whatever. Maybe that's the solution.
I think what I'm trying to get at with all of this, like this whole kind of back half of the podcast, is like someone who's in your shoes but feels lost. Like you got to the top of the mountain and you looked down and you said, oh, this isn't the mountain that I actually wanted to be climbing.
Yeah.
But that said, like the money, the skills, the process was still a very positive outlook for you. And as we both know, like mindset will determine everything in your life. And I'd love for you to close out with like, let's say somebody's early 20s, they're a little bit lost. They're not sure where they stand with God or where they want to go business-wise, but they just know they don't want to be where they are now. What's the first step?
I mean, tactically speaking, the first step is to find somebody who has been where you want to go. And if you don't know exactly where you want to go, we'll start thinking about it. I mean, just start thinking. Like the first exercise we did in Billy Wilson's course was design your dream life.
Yeah.
You put together what you want your dream life to look like. And so start with that. The Bible says, without a vision, the people perish. So create some sort of vision for yourself. And then you have an idea of where you want to go. Once you know where you want to go find somebody who's there or who has been there. And then find somebody who's been able to take other people there too. That's like the tier of mentors. Have they been where you want to go? And have they taken other people there too? Find that person. Figure out, what do I have to do? Do I have to start working a side job to be able to afford to get you to mentor me? Do I have to work for you for free? Can I come work with you? Like, go find somebody who has been where you want to go and just learn everything you can from them. And then get around more and more people who want to go to a similar place. Because the success of a king is determined by his counsel. And so if you're around a ton of people that are not taking you to a higher level, well, then that's who you're going to become.
Yeah.
So tactically, that's what I think about. Skill, mentor, mastermind. That's exactly what they teach you in college. A major, your skill, a mastermind, your college classmates, and then a mentor, your professor.
Yeah.
The modern world allows that in a much more affordable and I think productive way, which is you join a mastermind, you find a mentor, you find other members in there, or you find somebody on YouTube, you learn the skill for free. Like, you don't even need to buy a course anymore. It's crazy. You can find everything for free for the most part. So that's how I would think about it. Those three things that college provides, mentor, mastermind, skill, but flip it in a digitalized way in the modern world. Find that thing digitally. How can you build an online business? What skill do you need? What mentor do you need? And then where are the people hanging out?
Nice. I love the in-person aspect of what you just described because, like, as awesome as YouTube is, and as you mentioned, like, there's a lot of organized information that's not in paid courses nowadays. But, like, I promise you the next level of whatever it is that you're going after is on the other side of just hanging out with a few people that are a few steps ahead. Because there's something that will click when you hang out with those people, hear them talk, see the way they carry themselves, and see how, like, common sense it is that this stuff can work and does work.
Right.
That that flipped such a big switch in my head when I started doing a lot more in-person stuff. And I had a student a while back who's like just graduated high school, you know, had like all the gung-ho, like wanted to do it, and was just behind his computer 12 hours a day sending a bunch of outreach messages. And I was like, dude, go to a networking event. And every week I would follow up and see if he had gone to a networking event. And
that's fun.
Isaac, if you're watching this, if you've gone to the networking event, comment below. But it's just so important for the mental development. Like there's something I think subconsciously that when it's all on the computer, we still have this skepticism that eats away at the confidence. But once you go in person, you see people like, okay, this is real. It's like, oh, maybe it's not all a scam.
Seeing is believing, you know, once you see it. When I went to Joel Kaplan's mastermind in Mexico 3.5 years ago, I was coming off my like 5th agency. We had all these agencies crashed because of COVID. I was thinking about getting out of the space altogether. Then I go to this event and I meet all these guys who are doing 100K a month plus.
Yeah.
And I was at the bottom of everybody in the event. I was quite literally the dumbest person in the room in terms of my success, at least. I was the lowest person in the room. But as I spent more and more time with these people, I realized they don't really know that much more than me. They're not sharper than me. These guys are going out and partying and clubbing every night.
Exactly.
They just figured out a couple of things that I haven't. And they've taken some risks that I haven't. Because they believed it's possible like I didn't. And that event, I wrote down, I'm going to make 100K a month before the year is over, because I became so convicted. And I went from 0 to 11 months later, we're doing 150K a month.
Love it.
And that event was the genesis of everything for that year. I mean, it inspired everything because I finally believed it was possible.
Yeah.
And so, I love that you touched on that, because getting in person is incredibly important.
Yeah. And it's interesting that it wasn't like, oh, wow, these people are so amazing. It's like, same thing happened for me. The first guy I knew that was running an agency, I was like, he said some really cringy things on this call. Like I listened to this call that he did and I was like, not impressed with his sales skills. And yet he closed. It was my family business at the time. And I was like, maybe if this 17-year-old can close my family business for $1,500 a month, like maybe I could do that too. He was cringy. And he's, you know, like gave me that belief, like breathed the belief into me via just being normal, you know?
Yeah.
Which is cool.
That's fun.
Yep. Oh, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, bro. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Good chats.
Great chats.